All right, we'll roll right into call the order of the committee of the whole for October 12th, 2021 at 5:32 p.m. Roll call.
Sorry. Aldermans Madden.
Here.
Kubaki.
Here.
Engelhardt.
Here.
Capusta.
Here.
Terrence.
Here.
Hamel.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Statement of public notice.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Approval of the minutes from September 23rd and September 28th, 2021.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are approved. Under new business, discussed establishing polling places and number of election inspectors. Inside your packet, there is a chart with a proposal to change our locations for voting. Currently, they have the current locations on there with each aldermanic district having a separate voting place. The proposal is to have aldermanic districts 1 and 2 vote at the library in separate room areas. And then districts 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 be at City Hall in different areas here as well. Actually, 6 and 7 would both be in the council chambers, but they'd be separated to 2 different halves. Any questions or?
What was the logic behind changing that?
Go on.
And this should be a fairly light election, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so. But the other thing is just a lot of these places we had it, they just don't want us in their buildings.
That was what I was wondering, and
Yeah.
it's nice to hear the efficiencies are. So is this going to be a permanent change then, probably?
That would be our
In an ordinance.
That would be our recommendation to do it that way. And voting, the way people vote has drastically changed because of COVID, and I don't think it's going to go back to in person anytime soon. I think more and more people are going to be taking advantage of absentee voting. And
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Okay, so we're saying that Lake Point and so on, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different places besides, I guess there would be 7 places, and out of them, 5 of them don't want us back?
If Sharon can speak to that, but they're reluctant to have that many people coming through their buildings.
Not sure if that's on.
We're not saying that they don't want us back, but I believe you've talked to Tudor Oaks and they probably, they are not saying absolutely not, but we feel COVID is going to be continuing on over the next year. And like I said, there are multiple reasons why it worked having it at City Hall and the library.
So my question is, first of all, it's kind of an inconvenience for people in their district to go out of their districts to go somewhere else to vote. So I have a concern about that. And I understand the COVID. So my suggestion is that for the next election, which is November, is that right?
February.
Oh, February. This is for February? Mm-hmm. Okay, we don't have anything coming up in November?
If needed.
Only. There may not be a
Otherwise,
need
it would
for
be
February.
April.
I would guess there's
Okay.
probably going to be.
Because I was going to say we should review this again if there was 2 elections coming up. 'Cause I just have concerns of, the word is disfranchising. But they, you look at the bigger cities and they're making sure they have everything open, and they give you 1,000 different ways, including mailboxes to vote in. And we're giving you less options. So I know in my district it was a concern for some people. One of them actually brought it up to you guys higher up for the last election for the president to have more locations so that more people would get out to vote. And that's my concern is that people should vote in their own areas. So if we're doing this for convenience for us, then shame on us. And if we're doing it for other reasons, then it's fine. But I think there's a mixture of reasons here, and it's concerning to me. I don't want to make this a permanent change unless there's no complaints and we don't see a drop in voting. If we see a drop in voting, I think we should definitely review this again and make sure that we can get in each area and have places for people to vote. I mean, especially the older people. It's harder for them to get out.
Yeah, and we can always review after every election. If we have problems, it's definitely something we would bring back. As far as the number of voters, the number of voters that we had for the 2020 presidential versus the 2016 was significantly higher, so it's not really,
I think everywhere.
well, but I mean,
Not a mail-in, right?
the amount of voters that are coming out, we haven't seen anything drastically change. I mean, even if you go back to the 2020 spring elections, considering everyone, we were in the middle of a lockdown, the numbers were quite good considering what was going on at the time. So
No, I just wanted to bring this up
no,
as a concern.
your points are valid, and it's something that we should all be concerned about. I suggest we try this, and if we start seeing a problem, we'll definitely address it if we start seeing a problem. But I think this is a win-win for everyone. Especially looking at considerations for like Tudor Oaks and things like that to try to replace that significant voting place with.
And the districts will be the same. There's no redistricting on this election for February, is there?
Yes, there will be.
There will be. So
Yes.
that could actually add some confusion into
Well, and
bringing
that's
things
why
down. So there's a lot of problems or
So
potential
consolidating
problems out of this.
So consolidating this into two separate locations really would actually help that more so than anything else if there's going to be confusion, because you really only can, you got a 50% chance of getting it right versus before you only had a 1 in 7 chance of getting it right. So it would actually help that.
And the reason we're bringing this forward is because this is incorporated into the redistricting ordinance as well.
Right.
So they do go hand
Sure,
in hand.
and I presume we're going to notify all the
And
people of their own
voters,
districts, but yeah.
For 2 years, they have been used to pretty much this layout. And I think to go back and change it for potentially every election would cause a great amount of confusion. And we did get a negative, I think, 2, maybe 1 or 2?
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up that, just make sure that we stay on course, so, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's also going to be a change to the code on the inspectors as well. So at each polling location, there shall be a minimum number of election inspectors per state statute. So that's going to be incorporated into the code as well.
I saw that, yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Having worked it for many, many years, whenever we move locations, it's very confusing to a lot of people. And I would say it takes at least 3 years to get that established with a lot of people. And actually, we're going to be better than 50-50 by having it all here continually, because most of them will get the idea they're coming to City Hall, and if they don't know their district, join the other line here. Instead, we've had cases where people have come in and they said, well, they sent me over here, and I had to send them somewhere else because they were in the wrong spot. And that's very frustrating to voters when that happens. So I've observed that over the years. So I'm very much in favor of making this very permanent. And even on light elections, when we're using the library in this building, I think that's going to be more efficient. That's my experience.
No, you're right. I know in my district, we went from the fire station to St. Paul's to Lake Park or Lake Church or whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably in, 5 years, there was 3 changes, so.
Mm-hmm. Very confusing.
Well, if you want to say a 4th change, because I think it was the library the last time, so.
Hey, we got it good. Where I grew up, I had to drive 6 miles to the nearest polling place.
You didn't walk?
Nope.
Both ways.
Uphill.
Both ways.
Yep, yep.
Both ways.
All right. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor of recommending this to council, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Continuing on, discuss establishing ward boundaries using the 2020 census figures. So in your packet, we have both the proposed new map the numbers with the population, both of Aldermanic, and then it's broken down into two county supervisory districts as well. And then behind that, you'll see the existing maps. So Sharon, do you want to jump on this? Or?
And actually, Alderman Wolf had contacted me, which was a very good idea. So you have a handout in front of you, which has the current number, population versus the split, or the proposed plan, I should say. And really, again, due to COVID, we had a very short time span to put this together. Typically, we would receive something in March. I think we had the green light in mid-September. So we had literally like 2 weeks to come up with a proposal. The three of us each worked separately, and then in conjunction, we probably had at least 20 different plans in front of us. And the proposal is the best out of all of them. It eliminates one split district, which will be very, very helpful to the voters as well as administrative.
When you say split district, can you explain what you mean by that?
So for the supervisory election, you can see supervisory, the districts 23 and 24. What happens is if you look at the map, I don't know.
Was it by, you mean the wards got divided?
Correct. So you have a supervisory line, and what happens in one district, you'll have one ward in one supervisory district and two other wards or one other ward in another. So we literally have to split the poll books. It's almost like having an additional district, which is very, creates a lot of cost and time.
Another district.
And confusion to the voters.
8 of us up here.
What's the criteria you looked at when you create these? So try to even out you try to have similar
with
populations?
All the attributes, yes, with the lines and the population by black. So we want to have as even as possible by ward, which we did. And it will give us an error message if we're outside of the criteria.
Anything else that we had all look at? I know there was a number of things that could pop up.
Well, I think one of the things would be population. By looking at this, I mean, you're looking at District 2 is carrying 18%, and then you look at District 3 and they're carrying 12%. So that's 1,400, almost 1,500 people difference. And I see why you did it. I understand everything you explained. I know the boundaries make it easy. When you look at the map, you can see that. But when you look at this, we have a split between 12 and 18% population. So one person's only carrying 3,100 and the other guy's carrying 4,500 people, which is, I don't know if that's how we want to represent our city or not. I don't know. I just bring it up as a question.
And a couple of the proposals, this actually was the most even of all the,
Well, I can see the boundaries. It makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, there was one that probably the second or third best one we came up with had District 7 with about 77,000 people and one district with like 2,800. I mean, it was this huge disparity. And, just because you have to take census blocks as a whole to bring them in, you may look at a map and say, well, why don't we just move this line here? That census block may be this huge area that you end up pulling in another 500 people when you don't want to.
And those census blocks, some of them were very, very large.
Yeah.
Some could have 12 people in them, and then we had a couple that were 400, 500, 900. Yeah. And we can't split that.
Mm-hmm. And those change every time the census comes out, the actual block itself?
No,
just redistricting.
I don't think so. So I've actually taken some notes to forward that for the next time. Mm-hmm. Because that makes it difficult, plus with us being on water.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to throw it out there. Then I look at the current. We have one that's at 4,500.
Right.
One that's at 3,100. Mm-hmm. The proposed, we have one that's at 4,300 and one that's at 3,000. Mm-hmm. So it seems like there's the same disparity in the current and proposed between the large and the small. I guess when I first, John and I chatted, I thought we had to have it at a certain level, like we had to get it within a certain percentage and it was too skewed. But wouldn't that percentage be the same as it was before? Isn't it just as not even as it was before?
I think
we're changing?
16 dropped pretty good.
I'm just saying that difference between the large and the small on the proposed is the same as it is in the current. So why?
Yep. You're always going to have one ward, no matter how many different proposals we came up with,
Yeah.
just because of the way.
I guess my question is, did we have to change? Could we have left it the way it was if it
No.
wasn't?
Because we had errors
Okay.
with the current plan, so we literally had to go through.
And let me clarify something on here. So these population numbers that are in here are pre-census. So the map, the existing map where you're looking at wall may have been even when you created it. If you took the populations of those areas now, they're not even, because development has happened in areas.
So I think what Sharon's saying is that the wards were split. You can see that with the supervisory, that was your errors. That's that, in your opinion, that was the errors. You want to try to keep the boundaries within
Right,
the wards.
and the county changed, they shifted the supervisory line, so that created a lot of problems, because you really should do your best to have all the wards within certain supervisory bounds. So we had to go through, and then it gave us the opportunity to eliminate one of the split districts.
So did these errors occur after the last redistricting?
No,
County
just
supervisory.
after the supervisory line went in.
Well, I
and-
guess the last
and
time we-
population change.
So when you did this in 2010,
Right. Were there errors during that time, or
2010?
did they occur after
It was after.
that time? So back in
Oh,
2010,
yeah,
when they.
we wouldn't have been
re-
able to,
Okay.
council wouldn't have been able to approve it.
Okay.
yes, sir.
All right. I try to dig into this and find, and by state statutes, it's recommended to stay within 10% on the numbers for balance. Am I correct? It also says that we're supposed to work to get the word is compact, and I forget what the other word is, to keep where we have crazy lines are to be avoided, is basically what it tries to tell us. It's very hard to discern how far that reaches as to what our responsibility is on that, as far as I could see in the statute, other than recommendation. And so the size of the districts can vary, and how much they vary runs into these limits that Sharon is talking about. I came in and talked to her, and she showed me how that works with the blocks. It's very, very difficult, and I appreciate the work they've done going into this. One question I have right away is on the one you're presenting here on this, where it shows the split district for the current. What are those numbers based on? The new census blocks, or the old, or the number of people actually voting, or what is that based on this time?
Yeah, for the new census.
This is on the new
Yep.
census.
And Nick actually went through and drafted the changes in population with the new, no.
So the reason I'm asking
New
this.
development coming aboard, so we have, we did try to incorporate that, so the lower populated district should go up by, once the development has changed.
Yeah. The reason I was asking in this area is this chart you're giving us on the current redistricting plan with the two split districts. I'm trying to figure out exactly what you're presenting here. Is that the current boundaries then? That we're
Yes.
worked up in this,
The
or is
main
this?
change is, under the current plan, we used to have wards 6, 7, and 8, which it was District 3. So in order to eliminate one of the split districts, we had to flip 6 and 7. So now District 2 has 3 wards, if that's what you're asking.
I'm trying to figure out if the numbers you're presenting on this is according to the current
It's a
existing
2020
map,
census.
Yes.
which is completely different than the map you're proposing, so it's kind of irrelevant if
I
that's
guess
the case.
I'm confused what you're saying.
This is just for a comparison, John, is that what you're saying? The two new ones they handed out? That's just to show last one to the new one. That's, I just asked for it just as a comparison, just for.
Yeah, this
Just
is.
to make sure we're all on the same page.
These are just the numbers that were,
Okay,
so the numbers that are on,
I get it on the proposed one.
okay.
I understand where that's coming from.
On the left, okay.
On this one,
Those
are
are the
these
old-
numbers based on what has been generated by the new census?
No.
Are these
It's
numbers
equal.
based
They're
on,
equal. So if you look at the bottom, 25,032. So the numbers are updated, however, it's the wards as they are today.
people now.
these are the wards as they exist today on this set?
Yep.
Okay.
But
So I
it's
still say
been-
that's rather irrelevant since we're changing the districts.
It was just for comparison. I just wanted to compare it. I just asked her.
Yep.
I didn't know she was going to bring it out to everybody. I just wanted to take a quick
Well,
look at it.
actually, I thought it was a good idea because you can see the current plan for District 7 has 4,300 people, and we upped it. It
3,200.
did shift to District 2, which is 45, but also our population is going up and so on. So the discrepancy between the high end and the low end is approximately 1,400 to 1,500, and that has not changed.
And let me throw this in, just percentage wise, I threw that out. I picked the best and the worst, just to throw it out for us to talk about it. Most of them are 13, 14, 15%, so it's real close other than 2 and 3. And if the population, I think 3 has a new development going in, right? So that's going to pick up, so
It's in 2,
unfortunately, 2
actually.
is the loser.
It would be it's in 2, the new development is in 2.
Oh, that's in 2 as
Yeah,
well?
what they have put, which is really going to spike them. I think it's a little, I guess on mine too, technically our homeowner association is split right down the middle. So we've got half on one side, half on the other. Some of my concerns are revolving around looking at the representation side, and I realize there's the difference, like, hey, you've got to do the voting stuff. Looking at, again, that common issues of residents, what the dividing lines were previously. That's a big one where you're going to have calls that come in for the same issue on in a neighborhood that would have made sense to potentially keep them together for that representation side. But I know that that's maybe not something you were specifically looking at. Those are the things that jump out to me. But
I think what if you look at the boundaries, the map makes sense. It's just the biggest dilemma is 2 and 3. You know, that's the only thing I see in here.
So when will the exact numbers become available, and how will this be skewed because of the new numbers?
Which new numbers are you referring to?
The post census numbers.
Well, these are the post.
Because we've got over
These are
25,000
Yes,
people now.
That's
Yeah.
what we're
the
using.
numbers, yeah.
It's just not with the new development, right?
Correct.
Right.
Okay, so there's some anticipation here. So within the wards, because of the census tract differences, that's why wards changed so dramatically. Does that make sense? Because it looks like Ward 7 went from 1455.
Right, and in the
down to
past,
958.
the council made changes. I believe the numbers that had been presented in 2010 were more even. So if you look at the current, like Ward 1 had 716, and now you shift over to our proposed plan, you can see it's very, we tried to keep it all
I
within.
think Ward 1 went back the way it used to
1,000.
be. It used to cross the street. Now
Correct.
it's doing it again, so.
Which is a goal, to try to keep it as even as possible.
There are some substantial changes to this geographics of the districts, and that we're going to have either way, I think. The supervisory districts have changed with the new, and that's already determined by the county, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Let me throw this another way. I did an average of all 7 out of 25,000, it's 3576. So if you look at this, you got 37, and your big one's 45, then you drop down to 31, 32, 30. So you're right in there, 32, 34, 36, and 37. So you just, the big dilemmas is 2 and 3. So I think everything else seems to be pretty skewed except for 2 and 3. So we're just keep going back to what I started with. So I just want to throw that out there. 3576 is the average, which is 14%. So we go 15%, 18%, 12%, 13, 15, 14, 13. So you're right there with the 13, 14, 15, 13, and 15. So you're back to 2 and 3 again. So I don't know if there's anything you can do in those two, if you wanted to do anything in those two, or we're happy with this.
And trust me, I mean, Sharon and I,
I know, I looked at the map, it makes sense.
we sat down and she's at her desk plugging these in, and we're trying, especially that one little corner, where the Will Rose apartments are going, that little area of being, like just to grab that into 3 to be able to get that population. But the supervisory, then you have that supervisory line problem. Ideally, what the state ought to do is have the locals start, and then the next larger unit of government go next. And
Doesn't it flow down?
no, it like starts in the middle and goes then down, then up. I mean, it makes no sense.
Yeah, this is going to be, 2 is going to explode because again, Will Rose isn't finished. That's in 2 right now. The new subdivision that was proposed is going to be,
Off of College?
yep, is going to be going in and 2 to 3 people per home. And they're already at the upper side. Again, I feel like that's going to be a little bit large. I told Bob,
We got 100 homes and 200 people there, right?
half of my calls come from the area that he took over, so he's going to get half of those.
So the alternative to that, since there's no easy way of moving things from 2 into 3, would be to move things from 2 into 1 and make 1 bigger. But then now 1's going to be that supersized one.
But then, that's, I keep saying the map looks right if you look at the map. It's
Is
just amount of
2-6 its own block? It's all or nothing from that section? I know we're getting into the nitty gritty. Do you have like the little breakdowns of the pieces of the pie? So,
On my computer.
On a computer, yeah.
because really Ward 2-6 is the one that whole entire thing went from District 3 to District 2. And
Some of 2 went to
there's
1
a
already.
lot of representation and a lot of stuff going on in there.
And again, you can shift and, the mayor.
Then you'll be cutting
So-
lines through again.
and-
Well, it already is cutting lines through. Again, you're taking you've got Janesville, you got College, and then it follows like Parkland and it wraps around. So it's already a funky cut through that section. I don't know if you're looking at it, Rob. If you were talking about.
I didn't look at it. I was
It's where my
looking at it
house
earlier.
is. That's how I know.
And I sympathize and understand what you're talking about by that new development coming in that district that's going to make it bigger. However, you're supposed to be looking at it as it is today.
Well, and it's already now 1,400 larger, so it's already set as the biggest.
Yeah.
So my thought would be to set that one under and allow that to grow into it. That's the only concern. When you do this again, and how often do we do it? 10 years?
Every 10 years.
Yeah. It's going to go from 4,500, just based on those 2 developments, it'll be over 5,000 in less than 3 years. Just from Will Rose finishing and from that development on the north side.
Provided the other one ever closes.
Wow.
Are you expressing concern on the part of the council that we would have vastly different level or numbers in our districts?
Yeah, I mean, 2 is going to be much larger. There's a lot of growth going on there right now that.
I think that's where everybody wants to live is in 2, because you're there.
That's not why. No, I'm not 2. He's 2. Just that section, that it's the.
So under that same thought process, you could have an explosion of growth in 7 as well coming up because.
Well, 6 is wide open.
With the new sewer, but there's no sewer there. So, development follows the sewer pipe, and we've got a major extension of sewer and water that just went down to Champions, and it's proposed to go farther from that, so.
What district was that, you said?
7, so I mean, anywhere you look.
That's
I mean,
huge, too.
Well, and I'm not hypothesizing. We literally have a building that's going to in 6 months. When will Rose be?
Yeah.
Yep. And they're going to have, how many apartments are in there? I should know that. So you're looking at another 200 to 300 people that are going to be in there within the next 12 months in that district that are not already counted in there. So they're going to be at probably 5,000 within less than 12 months. And that's not me just guessing. That's just based on, I'm hoping they fill the apartment. That's a whole nother.
You have any comments? You're in 2.
I just wonder if that chunk
You happy with it? It's fine.
that covers where Janesville and College to that corner is its own block in the system. And if it would make sense to move that over to 3.
Well, if you move it to 3, then we have the split, then you double up your election costs because that's where you're going to have 2 supervisors. That's the supervisory line right there. Yep. So then you'll have half part of your district.
Gotcha. So the county made that stupid line right down the
Yes.
middle. Okay.
And we actually even added a ward to try to even it out further, and we still came up with the same discrepancies.
No, that was my first look at that, of like, let's move that into 3, and then you end up with the supervisory problem.
Because I got like an open lot that is Parkland that'll get calls on in front of the home and then one behind, and they're now 2 different districts. So now we split those phone calls when something weird happens.
Unfortunately.
Any feedback from this end?
I'm just gonna let everybody that moved into his district know that he'll be there. I too have a homeowners district that's now been split into 2, but, you know, Kevin and I have always worked pretty good together. I'll just call him and say, hey, bud, you got this. And
I don't think it's really going to affect the HOAs anyway, is it?
No.
No.
So,
Bob's happy with it, he said. Are you? Okay.
his next move is to change the pay based on number of constituents? There you go. Dollar per constituent?
Per month?
So I guess what I'd be looking for is to recommend to council to approve this, if you're okay with it.
Nobody's okay with it.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. One? Okay. 6-1. All right, continuing discussions on the mayor's proposed 2022 operating budget. Before we jump into that, just a couple things I want to go over on the budget itself. A couple things that we did in there that I wanted to point out. One, it has to do with park dedication fees in that fund. On page, I think it's page 39, but I don't have the same book as yours. Where did I put it? Yeah. So.
You keeping 2 sets of books?
No, I got the wrong one in my
No,
packet.
I'm just kidding.
You got the right. So if you look at park dedication or some history on that, so when Manchester Hill was built, the council there was no money in park dedication fees.
Hang on, you're talking page 39 still?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was no money in park dedication fees at the time, or fund. So the council transferred $340,000 from the landfill into park ded to pay for the fund. Well, now that fund is up to 263.6663. So our recommendation is to transfer that amount back into landfill to give us more discretion on what, because if it's in park ded, you can only use it for parks. And it came from landfill, so now that that fund has been built up, it should really be paid back. And
Do we need to keep anything in it? I mean, is there a reason to keep anything in it?
You got a bunch of development coming forward that, you know, if we keep the funds as is.
I mean, not as is, but do we want to drain it all? I mean.
Yeah, there's really no reason.
I mean, we don't need none of that could be used for improvements or anything or nothing,
so
or is that just basic
here's
budget?
the option. You move it in the land, you move it back into the landfill.
Then it can be used for
If
capital.
you need to use it for parks, you still can use it for parks. So you have that option.
What has been our history, Sharon, with the park dedication funds? We accumulate it and keep it in there, or do we usually transfer it out? Sorry to bring it up.
From the start of this fund, the only thing we've really used it for was the Sand Hill Park.
We didn't use
And-
Park Arthur or
not
anything?
Manchester,
Park
I'm
Arthur
sorry.
too?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What was that?
Park Arthur as well?
No, so there's 2 park dedication funds. You have the regular park dedication, which has all of our former parks with Lions Park and so on. So that's Fund 202. And then we have the Park Improvement Fund, which is 203. And that was set up to have all of the subdivider fees flow into that to use for new parks. And unfortunately, we just have not had the projects to utilize this money. And it's been sitting there for years. So it just makes sense.
So it won't hurt us in the future, basically, you're thinking? Okay.
Like I said, if you wanted to do something with a park, you could take the money from landfill and put it in.
Right.
But you can't take money from this fund and.
But we know that once we put it in a landfill, it will be using it.
It will be used, yes. So, and the other thing, just as a heads up, I'm looking into is changing our lack of a better term, you can't, I mean, there's no such thing as impact fees, but that's what.
User fees?
Well, the park dedication, park dead fees come from new development, so developers pay so much per lot. Because we're so limited on how we can use that, and the way the current ordinance is, I'm investigating different impacts that we could do to replace that. Maybe get rid of that and look at one, like, I don't know if you can do it, but like fire and rescue, because paying for,
So right now, a
fire
new
and
development
rescue,
goes in, there's an impact fee on those new houses to build the park in their area.
That's the idea, yes.
Okay. And if we took that away, how would that impact the development of the new park?
You still could do it, just you're going to be using it from different, landfill or whatever you're going to using that money for.
Oh, so the money will still be coming in? You'll still have an impact fee?
I'm going to look at the
thing?
impact fees altogether, and because you are really limited on what you can use. You can't just like take money from that park and improve a park you would literally have to build a new park with that money. And that's why it's just been sitting there, because there really is not an appetite to build.
Yeah, and we're building a new
park
development in next to Park Arthur, so we don't want to put another park there, right?
Correct.
We could use that funds to develop Park Arthur more or something, I don't know.
Yeah, but you can't. You have to build a new park. So, yeah, you'd be better off having the funds.
Well, let's use this as a scenario. We have Park Arthur that's built and Park Arthur that's unbuilt. So how would that work, just in conversation, if we wanted to develop the undeveloped area? Would that be a new park, or would that be part of an existing park? I don't know, that's just conversation.
That is a great question.
I would think it would be a new park.
You could make the argument it's a new park.
We could make
Somebody
it-
The argument you're just improving.
We call Park East and Park West or whatever,
Yeah, it's.
Okay, I just throw that out there as conversation. So-
That's one where.
And I'm
you
just
go
throwing it out
to-
there for information that in the future, it's something I'm looking at and I'll be bringing forward. Just kind
No,
of
it makes sense if we're sitting on $202,000, you said?
263.
But the other one is 203,000, so there's two different funds out there right now? So we have almost $500,000 worth of funding?
No, the park dedication, that's strictly funded by landfill and
Oh,
other.
okay.
By contract, so much of the landfill has to be used for
10%.
parking.
Right, for community based, whatever, okay, gotcha. Okay, that's fine, you don't have to look it up.
All right, so that was one of the things I wanted to point out. The other, let's look at my note here. Refuge and recycling. So Eileen probably knows this better than anyone else, but our landfill, the contract, the way we paid tipping fees used to be incorporated into the hauling, correct?
Service. Yep.
In the hauling service. And our contract, we asked them to not essentially build it into that, like to it should be separate on it. And when they did the contract in 2010, 12?
I think, yes.
Roughly 10 years ago, they forgot to incorporate that extra tipping fee into it. And they tried coming back to us and saying, oh, you owe all these, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And Sharon did a good job of being a pit bull and saying, so sorry, no, you're not getting it. Now, however, we just started a new contract and with GFL because our old one expired and they remember this, and now we have to pay this extra tipping fee. So we have to incorporate, we have to up our refuge and recycling to be able to absorb those extra costs.
How much is the fee?
It's per ton that goes in. I don't know it offhand, but.
What are you?
But for instance, our costs went from like 263,000 to 500,000.
Oh my goodness.
So it's significant amount. So our proposal is to, let me find the dollar amount. Currently our refuge and recycling is at $26.50 per quarter. And to be able to offset those tipping fees, we're proposing to raising it to $34.45 per quarter. So an increase of
$8 or
$8, yeah. Roughly.
$8.45, but yeah. So that's gonna be passed on to the homeowner.
Yes, on their quarterly bills.
And that is for hauling?
No.
For refuge and recycling.
Okay, just for the whole
Garbage,
general
trash
pick,
pickup,
just for
yeah.
Leaf,
gen-
it also includes
for both
leaf pickup for
trucks.
DPW.
Yeah,
So we have-
our leaf pickup costs are built into that as well.
Okay, the only reason the only question I have, or thing I can think of is, these trucks are up and down our streets all the time, and it kind of goes in my theory, which is kind of off base here, but we have all these delivery vehicles running through our streets all the time, and we're paying more and more for this stuff, and we're not getting anything back in return from them.
From the recycling?
Well, just in general, I'm just talking about trucks on the road, but that would be part of what they're doing too. So I don't know if there's something in the future we should be looking at, because I know I'm on a cul-de-sac and working out of the house with this COVID stuff. I don't know how many deliveries. I mean, it's unbelievable how many deliveries everybody gets every day. I see a FedEx, a UPS, a mail, a FedEx, a UPS, a Amazon, I mean, I'm seeing 12, 15 trucks a day, and there's 12 or 15 houses.
And they're all coming to your house?
I don't need anything. What do I need
So
anymore?
what are you suggesting, Rob? I missed
I don't
the
know.
point here.
I don't know. I'm just saying that, just all the wear and tear on the streets.
You also have less people taking their own cars than to the stores and, so.
I don't know.
a car doesn't put
People are
nearly
home
as
more.
much.
They're driving more than ever short distance.
You want to put a toll booth on your road? Is that what you're asking?
I just throwing it out there. Just.
Yeah, I
You
don't
mentioned
think,
hauling, so I was thinking of the hauling fees.
yeah, no, I don't think there's any hauling tax that we can do or delivery tax, but that would be the only way to offset that. So that was the one thing, and then I think that was it. Any specific questions on or concerns on the budget as proposed since the last time we had met? I know a few of you had some questions and contacted Sharon. Anything else?
Yeah, just so it's all out in the open, we did talk, Sharon, about the
Tax rate.
tax rate, because
Yeah.
it was based upon last year's, not this year's. And
So-
we had this new assessment, which of course,
That's
everybody
in front
freaks
of you
out
right
because
now?
your house went up so much more. And you look at that, and it looks like your bills are going up hundreds and hundreds of dollars. For some people, it could be higher than that. But I think Sharon basically said that it comes out to about a 1.5 increase, about $22 on a $300,000 home, which on the reevaluation is $360 now. So if your house went up $60,000 from last time, you're going to pay $22 more. And the good part about that is that we're collecting it and we're spending it. So, if it works out in the budget and looks good, that's a good thing. So prices went up and taxes stayed pretty steady. So I just want to bring that as just out in the open and on record so everybody can understand what's going on. And if anybody has any questions in council, it'd be a perfect time to bring that up right now.
So, and that's a good point. I should say that out loud for those watching. And so the existing tax rate prior to this budget, or as of this year, was $5 and roughly 55 cents per thousand. The new proposed one is $3 and roughly 84 cents per thousand.
Just to correct, $4.50.
What?
Yeah, $4.
I'm sorry, $4, yeah.
Wow.
$4.54 and going back down
Christmas
to
early.
$3.84.
Police vehicle replacements not going to be a part of the operating budget anymore?
No, we moved that in order to, because we bumped into levy cap. So we looked at a couple of the capital items that are in the operating and switched them back over into capital, and the police vehicles were one of them that we did that to. There was a DPW truck as well that we did that with.
That's a permanent move.
So that'll help us out right now, and that's with the park dedication fees or impact fees or whatever you call them, moving over as well in the capital. That'll help fund some of that, as long as we keep collecting new ones coming in. So,
Well, I
and
think
like
we
you said, you're
can,
going to figure out how to work that, whatever you're looking at.
next year, if it's possible, we will move that back in.
If we can, yeah.
But-
The annual
but you're looking at
replacements.
changing the wording, right?
That was my understanding, yeah. That we, and especially if they lighten up on the levy limits, we should be able to bring it back in.
Because that's hard to anticipate. I mean, because we wreck a lot of vehicles, nothing personal, chief, but.
And they always want newer and better things, so.
And Chief and I have had that discussion, and it's something he's going to look at going forward. Ideally, I understand where, from a policing standpoint, the SUVs are nice. For one, they're typically bigger human beings that are police officers, so they have more room to move in. You're up higher, they can hold more stuff. But then, there's a financial reality out there that we only have so much money to spend, and what would you rather spend it on, an actual police officer or a police vehicle? So we might be looking at in the future of maybe instead of getting all SUVs, maybe getting some sedans, we'll see. But it's
Well, I think what happened in the past when you were on the school board is that the price of a car equipped versus the price of the basic SUV equipped was not that much different. And
now it's
I think,
huge.
well, cars in general, I was just looking at a housing thing. Houses went up almost 18% this year. They're projected to go up 11.7% next year. So you're going to look at, so you can equate that to cars as well, or food, or whatever you want, but that's the reality. And the SUVs are harder to get now, trucks and things. So.
And there is a significant price difference between an SUV and a police.
Well, I did see a lot of communities going to SUVs, but since then, and it's probably because of the shortage, I'm starting to notice some pickup trucks. I don't know if you've seen that. I don't know the smaller pickup trucks, how that works and how that looks and how that costs. I don't know why they're going with them. Probably because they function like an SUV but without the back.
I think it's going to be all up to what they're making these days. I know Ford only makes Mustangs now, and they don't do Tauruses anymore. It just depends. And if I was a cop, I want to be sitting up where I can see what's going on, not on the ground where you can't see around.
Well, you're protected too.
I don't disagree with that, but there's a reality of dollars also that, if you can get an extra cop on the road by making some adjustments, and we're not sure we're going to do that. It's just, these are discussions the chief and I have. I'm just trying to be transparent with you and what, we're looking at in the future on these, so. Anything else with any other questions on or concerns where we are?
I just had a question on a couple of items under the general government, non-departmental, $20,000 increase in postage.
That's because of for elections we have
that
next
what-
year, and
Yes.
we anticipating absentee ballots.
And on that, Matt, I didn't even mention this to you. I'm going to try, right now we don't have a nonprofit, USPS nonprofit number. Local governments are limited on what you can use that nonprofit stamp for. Like the school district, everything they can mail at a nonprofit rate, which is,
Well, it's community
it's
stuff,
like a
right?
third of the cost of postage. It's really low. Local communities, we can use it for elections, but that's about it. So, or election information. So
And we fund all the election postage. We get nothing back from federal or anything. That's state, county, nobody is, you do your
it's
own
a
thing.
local mandate
Okay.
or unfunded mandate.
Last year, we were able to utilize COVID funds to offset that.
Any other questions,
Did you get two
Alderman?
things? Another one?
No, that's fine. Just that was good.
Okay. So is everyone good with it where it's at? Because if you are, it would be helpful to get a recommendation to council with the budget, because then we can publish this. We need to have this published by the 20th. And
October?
Of October, yeah. Doesn't mean it can't change after that. It just, we need to publish, and we'd like to publish it as accurate as, we don't like to have something in the paper and then change it, and we can make slight changes. We can change the whole thing drastically, but it's just in anticipation of being transparent. If we're okay with it, I'd like to have that recommendation to council, and you still have the option of changing things later, but we'd like to keep it as tight as where it is.
Move to recommend to council.
All right. Do we have a Second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Review of 2022 water and sewer utility budgets.
Okay, so starting with sewer, if you could turn to Schedule 3.
Can you speak?
What was that?
I can't hear you that
Oh,
good.
sorry.
Fine.
If you want to start with sewer and turn to Schedule 3 on page 4, this basically recaps all the activity within the sewer fund. Overall, the fund is projected to remain extremely healthy. We did look at increasing rates, but with the last audit in 2020, The net position actually increased by $770,000. So it just wouldn't make sense at this point to raise sewer rates because all the funds are, our projections look extremely healthy.
And we're mandated to do that, right? Or no?
No.
Was there
That-
is not a
that is a city-
percentage of that or anything?
It's a city decision.
This is just city?
The water utility is regulated by the Public Service
So you're looking at
Commission.
raising 1.8%, is that what I see? Or
No, we are not recommending to
We're
raise
not
rates.
making it, we're recommending keeping it as is.
Oh, keeping it as, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you said we have enough money in there?
Yes, I know it's confusing because if you look at the operation and maintenance fund, the first column, it shows a net loss of 188,000. However, that it does not reflect what's creating that decrease is depreciation basically, and that is just a balance sheet amount.
Okay, so if we leave this, we'll be good through 2022
Oh yeah,
and longer?
probably.
Okay, because I mean, that'd be the goal. I mean, you want to make sure that if we don't have to increase it, that we don't have to have a big jump in 2 years from now, so,
Right.
okay.
Questions or comments?
No, I like the lower sewer tax, I don't know.
And the same holds true for the water utility, Schedule 3 on page 3. Again, all funds are doing very well. I know the debt service, you see a little bit of a dip, and that is to fund the capital projects that we discussed a couple of weeks ago. But overall, it's performing very well. I did go onto the Public Service Commission website to see if we were qualified for a simplified rate case, and we are not because our cash flow is sufficient. And we did have a rate
Penalized
increase though
again.
in 2021 and in 2020, 3% each year.
So we got to do the wrong thing to get money.
What was that?
I think we get penalized again for doing the right thing.
Well, and the water utility is more of a quandary because it's not, we really do need more income in there because we have to repair so much of we have so many things that we have to fix in the future, in the very, very near future. And as it is right now, we can't afford to do it. But it's one of those things we actually have to do it first, and then they allow you to do the rate increase after. As I told Sharon earlier, it's kind of like buying a house without a job and hoping you get a job after you get the house, so.
Yeah.
Well, we got Bob's district's going to come help us out. We'll have like 500 new people.
Well, and we will be having those American Recovery Funds
Yes.
that we'll be discussing
The
later on.
what recovery funds?
The COVID money
the money?
essentially,
Okay.
that we'll be having after budget's done, we're going to be talking about that and what our plan is for those funds as well, which a lot of it.
We
will be
haven't
sewer water.
do we have money we're holding in a fund or
Yes.
money?
Yeah.
And we have still more coming in?
We have half of it now, we'll
Okay.
be getting the other half next year.
Yep.
Any other questions? Could we get a motion to recommend this for approval?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in, further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Any communications or miscellaneous business? Hearing none, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Adjourned at 6:26.